What's up, goobers, goobettes, and goob-theys? My name is Bobo Kitty if you're new, and I'm a very new PNG tuber. I'll be using my long-form videos to talk about my life, things that interest me, or topics I find important to share. Now let's get into this. As you may have read in the title, I am begging the question, is heterophobia a problem? Now I know what you're thinking. What do you mean? Of course it isn't. And I'd agree. But to the people that say it is, or if you're curious, stay to the end. So, heterophobia. Not something most people talk about, right? Because heterophobia just isn't the biggest problem in the world right now. Some straights get upset, whatever, not a big deal. But I'd like to bring something else to your attention. Fetishization being mistaken as heterophobia. Fetishization of LGBTQ people specifically. Is heterophobia? What's fetishization really? Well, heterophobia is the hatred or sometimes even fear of straight people or being straight. Fetishization is the sexualization of something. Now that we've got that out of the way, why don't we see what fetishization of LGBTQ really looks like? Fetishization can look like not wanting anything to do with straight ships or hating them just because they're straight, or only liking LGBTQ ships because they are gay. Forcing people to be together of the same gender and asking them really sexual questions. If you know, you know. Liking trans people just because of their parts. And lastly, forcing people to have specific sexual gender roles for LGBTQ relationships, like who's the top, who's the bottom, and who's the girl, etc., when it's none of your business, which it almost never is. Now do you see why this could be confused as heterophobia? It's not always heterophobia. It could just be that they like yaoi or yuri better than straight ships. But it usually goes a bit deeper than that if the person is straight and they usually don't want anything to do with LGBTQ otherwise. It also could just be that it's internalized homophobia or transphobia being mistaken as fetishization, and that's also a bit of a problem, but we'll get into that later. So why is this even a big deal? Well, because it's seriously harmful and could really break someone's self-esteem. If you view someone only as a sexual object, and then that's probably how they're gonna see themselves, especially if their mental health is already as bad as most of the LGBTQ community's people it usually is, then it can really stunt their happiness and their mental growth. Talk about the way that fetishizing types of media can especially hurt people who are unknowingly trans or gay, or people who are unknowingly asexual or aromantic. First off, if you're gay or trans, you may have found yourself through gay media, and that is totally valid. I myself found myself through Magnus Chase. But let's talk about why you should stay away from explicitly fetishizing media. First of all, like I said before, it can hurt your self-esteem and make you see yourself as only an object. Secondly, it can give you harmful views about your own relationship. Let me make it completely clear. A romantic relationship is romantic. Nothing else needs to be there except for love. That leads to my next point. Gay or trans and asexual or aromantic, these types of people and media can be super harmful and invalidating. It could further solidify in your head that people like you are unnatural, and that is really harmful. It also leads to situations that are probably very uncomfortable and or disturbing. I personally wouldn't want people asking questions that are really none of their business, especially when I want nothing to do with what they're talking about anyway. Yeah, in conclusion, fetishizing of LGBTQ people is very harmful and is basically just unjustified homophobia. And no, heterophobia is not a problem, but the fetishizing is.